Hey, what's going on, everyone? NoZoupForYou here, and I'm going to say something I was not expecting to say. Submarines aren't that bad. Now, I'm not going to go all in and say they're great. I'm not going to say that they're wonderful, they're good for the game, or anything else, because it's still too early to tell. I mean, they're just being used in ranked gameplay right now. But in ranked gameplay, I'm finding that their impact... It really depends. It depends if the player who's playing a submarine knows what they're doing or not. It depends on a lot of other factors, whether or not the destroyers feel like chasing them. There is a variety of factors at play that determine how much of an impact a submarine is going to have in a round. And I guess that is similar to just about any other ship out there, maybe even aircraft carriers. It just depends on a lot of factors. But the important thing right now is that from what I can tell, and from the feedback that I've seen, a fair amount of players are actually enjoying submarines. In fact, a few players I've come across, posting on the various forums, have said they are rabid submarine fans. And I find that interesting. It seems that they have been received a lot better than aircraft carriers were. And maybe, just maybe, that's because World of Warships' constant delays, well, I don't know if they're delays so much as they just took more time to test it. Maybe that's what it was. We'll say that they just delayed it for more and more testing to ensure that when it did come out, the submarines were somewhat balanced. And it seems right now that they are somewhat balanced, at least down the lower tiers. I'll say definitely in Tier 6, submarines don't have quite the impact I was expecting them to have. And for my part, I'm finding that when I am able to get a hold of them, I do enjoy them. And I think a lot of players right now would like the opportunity to play them a lot more. But I think the thing we gotta realize is this is really just another testing phase for submarines to fine-tweak them even more and determine whether or not they're ready to launch into prime time. And by prime time, I mean actual random gameplay. So I'm sure they're gonna monitor this very, very closely. And from there, tweak it if they need to. I mean, submarines are a mixed bag, kind of like aircraft carriers. They really are. They have the ability to definitely change the outcome of a round, but then again, it's really player dependent. And I don't find that, at least in the lower tiers, submarines are game breaking or ranked gameplay breaking. They just aren't. I mean, they definitely have some drawbacks to them. The fact that they're slow underwater and just virtually paper-thin skin armor. I mean, if you make one mistake, just one mistake, it can be the difference between life and death in a submarine. There are some things that I really don't like about them. Again, the gameplay... I mean, this is an arcade game. We get that. Definitely an arcade game. But submarines feel super arcadey. There's just something weird about watching them maneuver. I mean, it looks like they took a submarine and sped it up to 100. And it just doesn't feel right. But of course, compromises had to be made in order to get submarines to work. It was a big gamble on the part of World of Warships. And not just the compromises, I mean adding submarines in general. It was a huge gamble, especially what happened with aircraft carriers, and especially since aircraft carriers right now are still being tweaked and still have not caught on for a lot of players, and players still hate them a lot. I know right now there's also a lot of players that are still looking at submarines very tepidly. A lot of players absolutely hate them right now, don't want them in the game, feel that they should not be in the game. However, I will say, and maybe this is only because it's ranked gameplay right now, and they're somewhat in the game in a very limited manner, I have not seen the pushback yet that I saw when aircraft carriers came out. For the most part, players have accepted them in ranked as a part of gameplay, and they either deal with them or they don't deal with them. And what's more is, you know, the likelihood of a submarine singling you out, it's kind of like an aircraft carrier again. It might happen, it might not, and if they do single you out, it can be very hard, especially if you're a battleship and you get those locks, because submarines can do a lot of damage. But that damage, again, is limited, and, you know, much similar in the way that a destroyer has to wait for its torpedoes to reload, so too does a destroyer. There are some aspects I like a lot. The radar ping, or the sonar ping that the submarines have. I really like that, and it's not because submarines have it. I like the mechanic because I feel that it works the way that radar should work. That should be the blueprint for radar in World of Warships. None of this, oh, a ship's in smoke, you hit radar, and all of a sudden it's magically visible. No, the way that they did it for submarines is the way that it should work for every ship. You hit radar and you see that very, very speckled outline of the ship, just a black outline. It's still somewhat hard to see, but you can still make it out. And I feel that is what warships and wargaming should have done with radar for all the other ships. Not this, oh, this ship is invisible to me. Oh, I'm going to pop radar. Oh, it's magically visible. No, it should be like radar. You get a signal feedback showing where that ship is. And I think submarines did it perfectly. And I really, really, really would love to see Wargaming take that and use it in the future as the way actual radar works. But I doubt that's going to happen. And I don't know that all the players would be on board with that either. I certainly think it would help things a lot. I think it would make things a lot better for destroyers especially. But, you know, who knows? I guess players are so used to radar right now that going back or changing it significantly might do more harm than good. I don't know. But still, I think that's an example of things that submarines got right and something I would love to see transition over to the rest of World of Warships with all other ship classes, especially radar ship classes. Some of the other mechanics submarines have, I mean, I don't fiddle around too much with them just because I haven't played enough in them. I mean, this is still the infancy, and you tend to forget you have things like the quicker dive planes, which is a consumable, and honestly, some of those consumables I really don't think are necessary or even needed. I don't find that they help me exceedingly in certain situations. I just don't. I find that just diving and maneuvering like you normally would usually suffices, especially to escape. But as things progress and I get a better handle of submarines, that might change, and I might think, oh, hey, these are an invaluable tool. I mean, they're still tricky to play, especially if you have multiple ships going after you, launching their planes and everything else. It can be very hard, so you have to be on your toes in submarines. You have to be ready to dive instantly if something gets too close. But again, if you can land those pings and keep a battleship or a cruiser pinged, I mean, those torps can do some serious damage. And it's fun. It's rewarding. I do feel in some ways the torpedoes can be kind of cheap. Homing torpedoes, yeah, no. That didn't really... that didn't exist. That's more of a modern thing. And I don't like that aspect. I much rather see it work as destroyer torpedoes do. Maybe boost the damage on them and slightly lower reload, but very much fire and forget. But as I said earlier, there had to be trade-offs. And I think had they not done homing, it would have made submarines all the harder to play, and players might not like them at all. So, overall, for this test iteration, for ranked gameplay, submarine testing, I mean, it's looking hopeful. And I gotta give it to Wargaming. You know, the delay in submarines and the extra time they took might have been a key to that. They learned what they learned from aircraft carriers and the rush to launch those. And I think they decided that they're going to take their time on submarines. And they did. It took, what, 2 years, if not longer? And here they finally are in ranked gameplay. And from what I can see, players mostly like them. Or at least a fair amount of players like them. And far more than players I've seen that actually hate them. Right now, it seems like it falls into two camps. Well, three camps. But one, you like submarines a lot. Two, they're in the game, you don't like them, but they're not game-breaking for you, and you're just going to play the game as usual, treat it as another ship class, and deal with it. And then I guess the third category, which I haven't seen that much, is players that absolutely hate them and think they shouldn't be in the game. But it's nowhere near as bad as it was with aircraft carriers. And again, that's probably because they're only in ranked gameplay right now, and we haven't seen them in randoms. And it remains to be seen what happens when they do drop in random. But again, right now things are looking hopeful for submarines. I mean, I'm shocked. I really am. I want to get your opinions on them, though. I want to know what you think about submarines, if you think they do have a future in random battles, if you mind that they're going to be in random battles, if you've enjoyed them, if you've not enjoyed them. Just let me know in the description of this video, in the comments. Tell us what you think about them. And, you know, I'm interested. I really, really am legitimately interested in your feedback on submarines. So, anyhow, hope you all are doing wonderful. If you haven't already, be sure to like and sub for more updates and news and everything else. And I'll catch you all later. Zoop out.